Welcome to Lovin Sheila. Great to be back. We kind of been on this journey lately where we talked about owning our happiness. And in the process of owning our happiness, we talked about making some adjustments to make sure that, we're where we need to be, getting our life in order and whatnot. And this morning, I woke up again feeling pretty inspired. And one of the things that I plan to do is we're going to make Love and Sheila into a book. We're going to chronicle some of these things and we're going to get a little deeper into some of the things that I've talked about over the years. I feel a little more free now, and there's some things that I want to fully dive into and explain and kind of share how I feel it brings us to our loving ourselves. And so that's part of my book. And so today I was really writing a bit of the origin story. And while I was writing, I got a message from my sweetie that we was talking about discipline. And one of the things with me, I always felt like I wasn't very disciplined because I always wanted what I wanted and I would basically do it. But as I look back a little bit more and I'm more compassionate with myself, I realize that I have been somewhat disciplined. And maybe that discipline hasn't applied to every area of my life, and that's the challenge. I think in my relationships, um, and what I went after, I wasn't disciplined. I didn't follow any particular guidelines. However, in what I eat, even though it may not be the best foods, I do it in moderation. When I exercise it, when I'm focused on something, I'm very disciplined in getting it done. And so I realized that I also have to discipline myself with this book because it's been a while since I've actually written. It's been months. It's been on my mind. It's in my heart. Something I want to do to flesh out, but I haven't done it. So I want to discipline myself and give myself a goal, time frame, because I've been talking about purposeful living. We're going to talk about, I have a purpose, and that is to write this story, to get it, in black and white, and I have to get it done. It's just sitting here in my mind and in my heart, and it's not being manifest. And so, as part of my purpose, I'm going to give myself a timeline to get it done, because otherwise it just won't get done. And I'm going to apply the same discipline that I apply to my workouts and to raising my family and paying my bills to getting this book done. you know and another thing that came up this week, I was talking to my mother, and I was like reflecting on me, and I realized how my boundaries have changed me and have limited me in the interactions that I've had with people. And it's interesting to me, and it's not because I love anyone any less or they don't mean as much to me. It's just I find myself going a little more inward, where before I always felt like I had to give, I had to be a friend, I had to show up for everyone. And now I'm realizing I really need to show up for me and do what makes me happy. And if it's too much for me, it's too much for me. And it's okay because I have to take care of myself. And so making myself more of a priority, making my emotions and my feelings and what I want a priority. And if it doesn't bring me the type of joy that I need, I'm not really dealing with it at all. And I find my circle becoming smaller and smaller. And as I coined Lone Wolf Bodywear, which is my business, Lone Wolf Bodywear, because I was a lone wolf, I find myself becoming more and more of a lone wolf. And I'm not sure. This week I wasn't quite sure how I felt about it. But as I mentioned before, we're designing our life the way we want it. And some things, just don't have well, I don't have the patience or the energy or the bandwidth to deal with. And so if it doesn't bring me peace, if it's not replenishing, if it's not reciprocal, then I don't need it. I don't want it at this time. I feel like I have given and I have given, and now I'm at a place where I'm willing to give, but let's be reciprocal at this. And if we can't be reciprocal, then we might be a little more distant, because I have to take care of me, and I'm definitely rebuilding. And so if you're rebuilding, and you are feeling a little alone or isolated, just understand, to build the foundation, sometimes you have to be alone. I remember when I first accepted Christ and I was trying to establish my life, and I cut a lot of people off, and I was really just sitting in a room, and I was on the floor. I had this single apartment. I was on the floor just reading my Bible because I needed that foundation to be set, to be sturdy, to get an understanding. And now here I am in another rebuilding phase, like after divorce. And here I am kind of alone and with a smaller circle, and just getting a foundation of what I want my life to look like coming out of this. I talked about getting everything in order so that I felt like I had my antennas up so I could actually hear and be responsive to me. So, I got my place in order. Still some things I need to do, but that's part of it. And so now I'm like, okay, now what's next? And I'm writing my book, and I'm writing my origin story. And I changed it a little bit because I took it back to the very beginning. I took it back to when I was born and the environment in which I was born in, and where I came home. And I came home to the project. I think it's called Imperial Courts over in Watts. And we stayed there for a few years. And then we moved to like 120th in Vermont. And then by the time I was 5, we moved to Inglewood. And I stayed in Inglewood till I was 19 years old. So I pretty much grew up in Inglewood. But I walked through the different things that developed my development during those foundational years. It took me back to those foundations. And something I noticed as I talked about and reiterated, I noticed that as a young person, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear of death, of, life. I remember, like I said, when I die, I want to dream my life all over again. That way I won't know I'm dead. But I was like 4. So why was I thinking about dying? And then I talked about a little bit of avoidance, meaning, growing up in the inner city, there's a lot of things that we interact with. And there's a lot of, there's times when you just have to put up your dukes. You have to fight. You have to stand up for yourself. And I was talking about how I tried to be diplomatic over, I always tried to find another means to deal with those interactions. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to stand up for myself. I wanted to like avoid it, ignore it, um, imagine it was something else. And it took a lot for me to just stand up for myself. I had to be pushed and pushed and pushed. And guess what? I realized, fast forward 50 years, and I was still doing, well, 40 years, I was still doing the same thing. I wasn't standing up for myself. I had to be pushed and pushed, and I imagined things, and I kind of like blurred over things, and I swept things under the rug. I tried to avoid dealing with reality as much as I could. Just like when I was a child, I didn't want to fight. So everything I could do to keep from fighting, standing up, I did it. And I did that in my life. I did that in my marriage. And, and here, guess where it got me? It got me right back here, starting all over again and building a new foundation and trying to develop better habits. Because what I learned and when I was writing, because those were my survival skills. Okay, avoid it, be fearful, push it under the rug, don't stand up for yourself, be diplomatic. Those were my survival skills, you know. But then as I was talking when I was writing, it's like there was one day I just stood up. I finally developed the courage that I just walked over to someone and I kind of shoved them, and then it began a fight. And I'm not advocating violence and whatnot, but and I was wondering what gave me the courage on that particular morning when I had avoided it for so long. I was just interested. What gave me the courage? And likewise, like I said, fast forward 40 years, I avoided things, swept it under the rug, no big deal, all those things. And then one day I had the courage to make a change. I had the courage to say, enough. I'm standing up for myself. I'm standing up for my son. I'm standing up for what I believe, what I think is right. And let the chips fall where they may. We're going to throw everything up in the air and we'll see where it settles. And I'm prepared to, wherever it settles, I'm prepared to land there and to build from there and build it my way, with the discipline that I know that I have over the years. I'm going to build it the way I want. And that's where there's like, that's why I feel like there's almost a falling away. Some things are not as present as they used to be. But as I rebuilt it, I built it with boundaries. And that was the foremost. Because when I first started therapy, the first thing she said to me was, she mentioned boundaries to me. And I was like, well, shoot, that was just like non existent. I had none. So when everything went up, everything fell down, I built it with boundaries. And it's interesting because I was talking to my mother yesterday, and she said, there's a term we use in the community, I guess. She's like, are you getting funny style? I said, no, I'm not getting funny style. I still love, everybody. It's just that I have to love myself. I have to take care of myself. I have to know what I want first. That's a priority to me, you know, um, worshiping God, and loving myself and taking care of myself. Because if I give everyone access and everyone gets what they want, I have a tendency to not get what I want and not stand up for me. So it's just a matter of being very mindful, not funny style, but just very mindful of what's going on and how these relationships are working and what works for me. That is important. I'm entering a whole nother stage, and that's this empty nesting where I'm here and I'm alone and just really discovering myself and sitting with myself. And so, everything that happens in our life, from our childhood to, to the end, I suppose, it all works together. And I'm just looking, and as I reflect on my childhood, I see how those behaviors and survival skills applied later in my life. And they're survival skills and they help me to survive. However, sometimes we develop survival skills that are not best for us. And so I want us to not be afraid and to be courageous enough to fix the things that we've done for years. We may have done it for 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years, but sometimes we need to adjust. We need to course correct. We have to understand those survival skills. They may have got us through a particular time, maybe not in the most healthy way, but it's okay to evolve, to develop, to go to the next level, to get better. And that's what I'm working on as I work on my purposeful living, getting better and changing what I've called in the past my stinking thinking, and trying to have more healthy ways of going about life. And that's what I encourage us all to do. It's never too late to start over. It's never too late to, build a new foundation. There's construction going on all the time. So we can be under construction. There's demolition going on all the time. Sometimes we have to demolish some things and resurface it and lay a new foundation and build from there. That's what I'm doing, guys. That's what I am doing. So I'm coming to you raw early this morning, just telling you it's okay. We're under construction. It's okay to start over. It's okay to let things fall away. Just because they're falling away and they may not be as close to you as they once were, doesn't mean that you don't love them and it doesn't have a special place in your heart. It's just that you're going somewhere and everybody's not moving at the same speed. Everybody doesn't have the same desires. Everyone's not moving at the same pace. Continue to run your race. Do you, do you. And I think things will work for us. And, be courageous, because that's what I found. The things that I walked away from to courage, the things that I stood up to courage. And so be courageous. Don't doubt your strength. Believe in your strength and know that you are able and you are capable. And that's what I want to encourage you with today. Have a great day. Don't forget to go to lonewithbodywear.com, get your shirt, Loving Me, or even Leave Me Alone if that's how you're feeling. It's $10 for my podcast, I can't say it, for my podcast listeners. So just go to lonewithbodywear.com, use promo code Lovin Sheila or podcast, and get your shirt for $10 plus shipping. What a bargain. Anyway, in the meantime, take care of yourself, love yourself, do something fun, do something purposeful today. And I'll see you on the next Lovin Sheila.